Hey Tyler, David Trungill here. I appreciate you sending your swing in. So we'll start with the face-on view and then ultimately get to the down the line view, show you some drills and taking a look at your swing. So one thing you mentioned about inadvertently fading the ball or missing right. So before I even analyze your swing, one recommendation from this hit camera angle anyways, at setup, I would say that I would change your grip. To me, when I look at your left hand, that's what I would call a weak grip, which would promote the club face to be a bit open. You said you're not intending to fade the ball, so if we do this, I'm going to take Matthew Fitzpatrick. He's a tour pro. The logo on that glove is quite transparent. Now, this would probably be too much. He has a very, very strong grip, but you can see that his left hand here, right, is turned over a lot more than yours. So I would, you don't have to overdo it, but I would, at address, take that left hand and rotate it across the grip a bit more so that you have a stronger setup position there that will help with that, avoiding that miss to the right. So as we play your swing, some good stuff here at the beginning. I kind of like how you're loading a bit into that trail side. That's athletic, nice normal motion. Kind of like how you're setting the wrists here, so 90 degrees at left arm parallel. That's really good. Now, before you get to that point, one recommendation, I would say a wider takeaway. So I kind of would like to see a little more space in between the right elbow and the body. Nice pivot, though. Nice turn. Decent position at the top. I would say your arms are separating a bit too much. I think your right elbow is pulling behind you. So if we go to Fitzpatrick here and we just sort of watch his backswing, so his arms are going to swing away from the body nice and wide. And then at the top, you can see how nicely, his arms are connected. So there's that. And then the other big detail, and by the way, before I continue this analysis, you're only going to be working on one or two things at a time. So we're going to show you some drills at the end here. Anytime you're golfing, whether it's on the course or the range, you can't have 6 different swing thoughts. It'll do more harm than good. So we'll work on one thing at a time. But one thing I'm noticing again with the arms and the wrist hinge. So watch this. Here's how you're setting the club. And on the way down, there's less hinge here than there was halfway back. Whereas with Fitzpatrick, it's the exact opposite. So if we go left arm parallel, he's somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 degrees like you are, but he's going to really produce a lot of lag here. So that's a big difference, right? Now, both of you guys, though, are shifting the weight to the front side, so that part's really good. I just think, though, if we worked on your arms and maintaining a bit more hinge as you make that lateral advancement on the way down, you wouldn't have problems with flipping a bit through impact. So, ideally when you're going to strike the ball with an iron, kind of would like to see at impact, instead of the shaft being here, like to see a little bit of a descending strike that will improve your contact. So again, part of this has to do with the arms and the wrists and all that, but there's some early extension we'll see from the other camera angle. All right. So main thing, though, let me slow down. Again, we don't want to overwhelm. And I always tell people to watch these videos more than once. So, of course, it's a recording. You can watch it as many times as you need to. So, key thing, though, from this view, let's fix that grip. Get that left hand a bit stronger. Anyway, so, yeah, let me talk a little bit about your swing from the down the line view, because there's some other stuff I spotted that, I think working on these items one at a time will help you, and then we'll show you the drill. Now, from the down the line view at address, I would recommend backing your feet up and then having everything else remain as is. So with your posture, if you back your feet up, it would get the weight a little bit more over the arches at address opposed to sitting back in the heels. But other than that, setup doesn't look too bad. I just would kind of like to see a little more space in between your hands and your thighs there. But not bad. So another change to implement. Takeaway looks quite good, and I can tell the camera angle was probably more in sync with the club face opposed to your toe line. So this will create the illusion that the club is going farther inside than it is. Really decent takeaway, good position at halfway back. Not much to dispute here. Solid. Now, once you go back farther, though, this is where that right elbow kind of yanks behind you, and then you get crossed at the top. So ideally, as your halfway back point, let's mark that like right around here, we want to see that club stay a little bit more on plane. So that would require you to rotate your forearms. So you can play around with that in a mirror. So really, we would like to see the club aimed a little bit more that way at the top. So let me let's take a look at Tommy Fleetwood here. So his takeaway is a little bit more out in front of him, but I think your takeaway, other than making it wider, you could play with it as is. Your left arm gets more across the chest than him, which actually I like that. I like teaching that, so that's good. But again, in order to stay on plane here, he's going to rotate his forearms so that club is aiming, again, a little bit more into left field, as I discussed. And then we can see here that right elbow is in line with the spine, right? Whereas with you, it wings behind you, and this is, again, a bit crossed. So there's that flying elbow. So a couple little tricks. You can take a golf glove, take a glove and tuck it underneath your right armpit. But this is one of the big deals with golf. You don't want your elbow to stay close to your body in the takeaway. You want it to be wide, but you want the upper right arm to be a bit more connected. So don't ever feel, though, that your right elbow stays close to your body, as we saw from the other view, the face-on view. We want to create space. We just don't want it to, pull behind you. So again, rotating the forearms. Yeah, so you're a bit crossed there. And then on the way down, what's happening here, your swing plane isn't all that bad. I mean, we call this P5, position 5. If you watch my YouTube channel, I go through each position. This is just a fraction steep coming down, like right here. I would like to see that club leaning back a little bit more. And then I would say your right elbow is trapped a little bit behind you. So if you watch Fleetwood, watch the transition here. So that right elbow is going to really squeeze in front, and the club will shallow so that when he's coming down, this will also affect that fade. When the shaft comes down on the right forearm, that's going to promote more of a straight ball flight or a draw, if anything. So the ball might start a little bit right and then draw back, but anyway. So decent takeaway. The other thing you do really well, and this is kind of uncommon, I kind of like the shoulder tilt you have, but you're losing, I would say, it's not too bad, but watch your head. So your head's backing up, right? You can see that there. And there's a little bit of early extension going on. So what that means is your head's backing up, and then on the same token, your hips here are going off of that line. And that's contributing to that wide release we saw from the other camera angle where you didn't really have a whole lot of shaft lean. Decent lower body rotation. Hips could be a bit more open at impact. So again, let's go back here. There's Fleetwood. Part of this is the camera angle, though. His stance is a bit more open. We can see, though, by the time he's striking the ball, his hips are. Physically, it looks like you're capable of any of this. I mean, you seem pretty fit. So anyways, that lower body is really going to initiate the downswing, and then just watch his head. As it goes down, it's not backing up at all. Right against that red line. All right. So we pointed out the observations, right? You can kind of see the differences in the swing. I think from here, what I'd like to do is show you a couple of drills to work on that will help your golf swing, your ball flight, and really just improve your fundamentals. So let's take a look at a couple drills you can do. So one of the drills I like to teach a lot of people is getting your head against the wall like this. This is me at home, and I have a club across my chest. So what I'm really doing here, and again, the key is you want to back your feet up, right, so that the weight's sort of in the balls of your feet. And as you turn back, that weight's going to go to your right heel so that the hips stay deep. The head went lower. And on the way down, we want to really get deeper under our posture. So there's a little bit more depth even added there. The head went down, and again, it didn't back up. So again, once you stand farther away from the ball, I think this will help a lot. So doing this drill where you're making a pivot and then just making an angular turn on the way through. So let me do this. Let me add Cameron Champ. He's had a pretty successful career. I don't know, 8 million in earnings or so. So we'll see, though, sort of the same theme that we've already discussed. So there's the head. Notice where the club is pointed to, right? So it's certainly not crossed or pointed in the right field. And then on the way down, there he goes again. So that head did not back up, but it went lower. The hips are staying deep. So I would just work this drill a lot indoors. So that will help with that early extension. So here's another drill you can do. This is me. And again, another example of the hands, right? Backing the feet up at address. But, more importantly, as it relates to the right arm. So I'm taking my left arm. I'm going to create sort of a hinge behind my right tricep. And I'll show you this from the other camera angle as well. So this is really beneficial because what this will do, as I go back, it's going to force me so that my right arm can't pull behind the body. You can kind of see my fingertips there. And when I was mentioning forearm rotation, so you can see that if I pronate or supinate my arm, I'm inside here in front of a mirror. You can see how that influences the direction. So we want to avoid that club from getting crossed. So what I'll do here is kind of set it so that, I'm in a reasonable swing plane here. And then from here, I can just swing down and hit the ball. Now, from the face-on view, what this drill looks like, again, left arm across the chest. I'm going to create that barrier here with the back of my left hand against the right tricep. And as I turn back, the benefit's really twofold. So that left arm across the chest, it's automatically going to make me have a wider takeaway, right? So I'm going to force some space in there, which is nice. But simultaneously, it's going to prohibit my right elbow from pulling too far behind me. So when I pause at the top, we can see that my arms are nicely in sync here. So my left arm is here, and by no means is my right arm disconnected up in the air or anything like that. So you get you into that position, and from there all you have to do is pause and hit the ball, whether that's in a net or you can do this at the driving range. Just get a lot of repetitions in. So anyways, hope this helps. Appreciate you watching this, and give me some feedback. Let me know how these drills work out and how your game goes.